Okay.
Okay, we're rolling. Hello, everybody. Peter Grosso, Pocket Pete. Can't sell houses anymore, so I'm pretending to be Walter Cronkite. I'm here with the lovely Cathy Menzies, right? How
Got
did I do?
it.
All right,
You did.
Cathy Menzies. She's a trauma specialist. I thought it'd be really special to have her on to discuss everything that's going on, especially to focus on the people that are on the front lines, like the nurses, and even talking about moms out there that are super stressed and dealing with a lot of stuff. So, hi, Cathy. How are you?
I'm good, Pete. How are you?
Good. Can you just give a quick background about who you are and a couple other like trauma, events that you've dealt with?
So, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, a specialized clinical trauma therapist. Have worked in the field for 25 years. Started off with traumatized children in foster care, adoption, a lot of abuse history, things along that lines. Worked in a variety of settings, children's schools, hospitals, within the court system, doing forensics. So trauma has always been a part of my clinical work. Because I am a first responder family, I have always had it near and dear for first responders, police, fire, EMS, dispatchers. So I have always been on the front lines for that, serving in some critical incident teams for many, many years, probably since the mid-90s, on individual calls or mass disaster calls. Definitely 9/11, Hurricane Sandy. Work with a great organization, a not-for-profit, New York LEAP, which is law enforcement assistance professionals, providing our first responders some time for critical incident debriefing, post their incidents, whether it's officer-involved shootings or, a loss of a child or things along those lines. So had the opportunity to work with some of those great organizations, as well as the Terry Farrell Foundation around Hurricane Sandy, for people who were impacted that way. So do a lot of critical incident debriefings for some organizations, some companies, with children. I also I am an owner of a private practice group. We have an office in Wantagh and in Floral Park with trauma therapists specializing in EMDR, which is a specialized treatment for trauma. So obviously this is my passion, my commitment, has been work with a lot of World Trade Center clients now, in the past 10, 15 years, since 9/11, did a lot of work around 9/11 as well.
So obviously you've seen a wide variety of different types of trauma. So you have a unique insight to like the differences between different traumas and when a trauma specialist is needed. And this is definitely one of those times, right?
Well, I definitely think, this is like no other trauma any of us have experienced. It's different from 9/11. It's different from Sandy Hook or any of the school shootings. In terms of Hurricane Sandy, same thing. This is impacting all of us, myself included, right? My family is out there on the front lines. We're quarantined as well in terms of just staying home. So this is a different kind of trauma that we've never seen here. Never this widespread. Very different in terms of the nature, but some of the same things apply in terms of how to, not everyone will be traumatized by this pandemic. There will be many that will. As we know, there's already many who have lost loved ones, who have loved ones very ill. But many of us will sort of adjust and adapt and have healthy adapting to this kind of incident. But it will live on with all of us forever, just as we, many of us, myself included, and my family, have, lived through 9/11 and what that was for the families and so forth. This is also different. Go ahead.
I'm guessing, so please, teach me the type of trauma that we might find in this instance is obviously those that are actually directly impacted, people that have lost loved ones, people that have loved ones in the hospital, that especially if they might be dying and then they can't go see them,
Right.
and dealing with that probably will stick with somebody for a very long time. But also like the anxiety of the unknown and not knowing who, not knowing if it's going to come to you. If you can't leave your house, the anxiety of not being able to leave your house is going to affect a lot of people. So is that the crux of like a lot of the issues that people are having, or is there more to know?
I think, there is, right. It's a continuum of difficulties for depending on how you're impacted, right? So someone who is impacted that, maybe at home, not in a good relationship with their partners or their family, that may be more difficult. If you're, a good and loving family and you're all having a good time, sort of staying together, connecting together, that's great. But it's going to vary up the line for different people. So obviously, as you said, those who, what I was going to jump in before was that one of the differences here is any of those traumas we had, we were all able to be together. 9/11, we got together, we were able to, support the families. We were able to be at services. We were able to do food drives and things, foundations for the kids, which we will do in time during this crisis. But right now, I know several families who have lost someone already. And, there's no funeral, there's no mourning in the proper typical ways that we have been doing it and known to do it throughout the years. So it is a changed grief. It is changed for people who are just not used to being home, who are used to going out and feeling that sense of freedom and, coming and going. And now we're all home. I mean, we're all sitting in our homes. You're in your home right now. I'm in mine, and sort of where we should be to save lives. I feel very strongly about that. I moved my practice to all telehealth a couple of weeks ago just to, flatten the curve. So we're going to see a lot of different things, and it impacts everyone differently. So, we need to be talking to each other to see and notice things. If someone's more irritable, there's a change in sleeping patterns, change in appetite, things that are more warning signs of some concern. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a full-blown trauma, but their system is being impacted. We're all being impacted by the news, and by the things we're seeing and witnessing.
So what would somebody do to kind of self-help themselves? Can you even preempt, like, because trauma is a level, right? So like something could be leading up to like stressors that can break and be, I guess classified as trauma, but
Right.
there's gonna be people staying home for maybe as long as 2 months. Is there anything
Right.
they can do to self-help themselves to not get into that trauma section, or if they're in it, how to help self-help
Well,
themselves?
I think, we're all feeling a bit of anxiety. It's normal and natural in this kind of unforeseen events. And the important things are to look at stabilizing ourselves and our families. Some natural things we can do to do that is back to basics, creating a schedule, wake up time to do schoolwork, time to do work, time to have dinner together. There's a unique Facebook post going around about perspective, about our kids when they're, in college in 10, 20, 30 years, and speaking about this pandemic, about them, us saying about all the negative things that went on, and them saying, I remember playing, scavenger hunts in the backyard. I remember having dinner together. So creating that normalcy in this world of chaos is so important.
Yeah, I can tell you that. One, I'm the Connect 4 champion of the house, by the way. I just want to, I want to put that up. But yeah, I am home actually a lot more. Obviously, I normally work like 7 days a week, and I'm out all the time. So it is actually really nice to bond with my family, my son and my daughter. But like two things have happened in our own household. And one, my son threw up at night one night, And my wife just stared at him till 5 a.m. because, she just didn't know if this was the start of Corona. So, there was that, so like, but he's fine now, no fever, no cough, none of the symptoms.
Right.
But, that was, I came down to the living room to see her just sitting up staring at him.
Right.
And then I when I was like 10 o'clock at night, I just was walking out the door and my wife's like, "Where are you going?" I go, "I don't know." and I just needed to get out
and get some air.
Walked for like 2 miles to just get the fire out of me because I'm so used to doing. I didn't realize what a shark I was and how much I needed to keep moving until I was relegated to my basement for 9 hours a day.
Right. So you're used to that kind of structure. You're used to just going, and this is a new way of behaving for you. So getting out and getting for a walk, of course, socially distant, is, fine. I wish they would have called it physical distancing because we need to be social. I think it's great that you and I got to connect today and say, hey, let's do this. Because, we're both running our lives in different directions and it's important. Can you connect with your family? Can you get on FaceTime? Can you get on Zoom? Normalize things in the new way, it's important to call your friends. It's important to call your family. You would go weeks and weeks without checking in on somebody. Now is an important time to check in.
Right.
Check in and see how people are doing. Do things that make you feel accomplished. Trying to pick a task a day if you got that closet to clean out, or if you want to do something to make somebody else feel good, write a letter. I had an old neighbor sent us a bunch of pictures of my kids when they were younger. She was keeping busy by going through her photo albums. And it warmed my heart so because it was just, she's like, I needed to do something to keep busy. And I'm paring down my pictures. I thought you would like these. And it's just a warm, natural, connecting piece. We see each other occasionally, but what a nice way to provide some support.
Right.
So,
yeah, there are a ton of opportunities that can come from this, just from having the time to do those things. What about the people on the front lines? Like I have friends that are nurses that I've spoken to that are incredibly stressed. They're very worried. They're obviously they're seeing a lot of pain. They're seeing a lot of people suffer from this. So I'm sure that's emotional and can be traumatic in itself, but they're also walking into rooms not knowing if they're going to get it, if they're going to bring it home to their families. How would you even begin to deal with that type of anxiety and those feelings?
Right. So we would want to, they're walking in a war zone and they're working in a war zone and they're doing everything we can. And we are so, so grateful for them every day showing up, doing it. I've spoken to nurses and doctors and healthcare providers who are working in the hospitals, and they don't know how they're doing it right now. They're just sort of on the autopilot. They're functioning through the crisis. What we can do is be there to support them, make sure their basic needs are met. Are they eating? Are they sleeping? Get them some rest where they can. Now is, they're not likely going to be able to process what they've seen. If they choose to share it with you, they choose, listen and be empathetic and connect with that. But many of them are just because they know they have to go back in tomorrow or they have to see that next patient. We will be here as trauma providers to support them. And in fact, one thing I didn't mention before is, one of the things I serve as is the Long Island Trauma Recovery Coordinator. And we provide free pro bono assistance to our topic areas right now. Our topic populations are the first responders, healthcare, and that's any level of healthcare if you're working in urgent care or within the health system. The families that are being impacted, either not being able to see their relatives and knowing that they're sick, or that have relatives that have been deceased and they're struggling. We have a community of therapists that are providing, as well as, and we can post those links later. As we know, Cuomo has over 10,000 volunteers on the mental health lines willing to provide support to anyone, anyone who needs it. But there are a variety of different groups that are available to first responders, who are concerned, who are walking the war zone every day.
Right. And I know you sent me all those numbers. So I'm going to post them here after this is over, but also I think I'm going to make a special section in the PocketPete app so people can can easily find those numbers and find you, and we'll try to help as much as we can with that.
I mean, and people are doing a lot. I'm also really thrilled at seeing, businesses and organizations, doing the best they can. So they're donating food to the hospitals and the healthcare, and they are collecting masks, like rescuing families and getting them, hand delivering them. I personally took a mask for a loved one of mine and delivered it to her personally because she was being made to, wear it over and over again. And with her compromised health, not good. So, we're doing what we need to do and can do. And we will be here for the long haul.
And it's obviously in this, there's a lot of interaction for therapy this way, right? There's a lot of FaceTime.
Yeah. This is what we're doing.
Is this a new way to do it?
This is the new way. Which is, it has a lot of benefits to it. I have to say it wasn't a modality that I was using. I'm even doing, very complex trauma work with it, as many of my colleagues are. We've been using it and really working with people in the heart of it. And it works, especially if you have a relationship with that person or you gain a relationship, you spend the time and gain the relationship, but you need the support. We talked about other populations that are, really stressed. It is families that have special needs students. They had behavioral therapists coming into the home, speech therapists, all of these, they're coming online slowly to provide some service. But, if you have a child with special needs, that it requires a lot of care and a lot of helpers. There's also a lot of fears about extended family members, and the elderly and connecting with them and making sure and checking in on them.
Do you think this is going to stick even after this crisis passes, where there's going to be a lot more virtual consultations and things like that? Like, is this?
Oh, I think, and I posted very early on an article, I think on my LinkedIn page, that, talked about how much, before I really even realized, I think myself, how big this was, how this is just going to change our world, period. Just in terms of this consultation, in terms of therapy, in terms of even business, like, who need, how many people always wanted to work from home but couldn't, got the boss saying, nope, you can't do that at home, you can't do that at home. And now we were in a week really forced to just do it,
Right.
And you have, I had a session with a whole family the other day that I've worked with for a very long time over specific stuff. And, the son's home from college and mom's in her room working from her computer. So I literally had them three on a platform, and we had a family session, going from the different rooms, because it was needed. There's a lot of simple things that can be taught over these platforms in terms of skills, deep breathing, relaxation, meditation. There's actually, people are putting up a lot of different free resources. I tend to post a lot of them on my page, for families, just to, continue how to talk about these kinds of crisis, how to share different information. Our kids are very stressed and very worried too.
Yeah.
They don't understand. Some of them are oblivious and sort of like, this is cool, I'm not in school. And others are like, picking up on the sense of the crisis.
Is there anything you would recommend to, like, how to get what's going on across to kids?
Just very basic, plain language conversation in terms of, yes, there is this virus. Everyone's working very hard and treating, everyone with the virus. This is why, giving basic education to the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. They're hearing it on the news, as we're passing. I would limit, your own news watching. Don't keep the news on all day long, tune in for some brief updates and disconnect. Read a book, take a bath, do things that are healthy for you. And the kids, like Connect 4. Can we play games? Can we, can you sit and learn their video game with them? We're not going to have this time again.
Right.
So, this temporary stressors, one will make everyone healthier for the long run, not increasing the numbers, and, it will make connections stronger. There are some vulnerable populations, as we said, the elderly, those who might be in abusive situations, and we have some of the links there. Those who are in active addiction, there's a lot of online meetings, there's a lot of supports available. So, we want to get that information out. And I do think, coming back to your question, this has totally changed our world. Because I don't know, 2 weeks ago, Pete, you would have said, come online. And I would have said, no, thanks.
Well, I got you now.
And you got me now.
Tell me how you're doing. I mean, I'm sure you're in the thick of it, and you're not only living this, but you're also like living everybody's this. So how does it affect you? Are you okay? Like, and what are you doing? Do you have to employ your own
Absolutely
yourself?
You have to have your own self-care plan and be working that. So definitely going to bed earlier than I had been. Some of this telehealth stuff is exhausting because it's a different level of connection with people. I am getting out for a walk and making sure I'm out. Also trying to make the time with my family, outside the door. I do have a full caseload, so I'm continuing them, but also to, when I have a break, to run out and homeschool for a few minutes and, do that. So, and connect with, my extended family. I have 5 kids and 5 grandkids. So it's, making sure they're okay and covered. So I have a good support system. I have good colleagues and friends that I can sort of just vent to. There's been a lot of connection worldwide with the therapist. So I, practice EMDR, which is an eye movement desensitization and reprocessing of traumas. It helps sort of unstore the trauma quicker. And I've been on several Zooms with different people from all over the world. This morning, we had over 500 therapists on the line, talking and teaching new skills and strategies in these worlds. So everyone's helping everyone, which is a really good feeling.
Is that eye movement thing something you can talk to us now about, or is there a lot of depth to learning it, where we could, like, if there's some people watching that are going through something, would it help people?
Well, So some of the links I sent, one of the things through the Long Island EMDR Trauma Network is we offer this type of trauma reprocessing. And there's different types of protocols based on whether it's an acute trauma, whether it's a grief trauma. And basically it is helping the brain and body digest the trauma. So if you had somebody, that was in a car accident per se, and they felt like they couldn't drive, or they couldn't get in the car again, or every time they did, they have anxiety and so forth. You work with this with either eye movements with your finger, or I don't know if you could see where I'm sitting, on the virtual platform processing. It's a protocol. It's a specialized training, but it works miracles in a very shorter amount of time. Essentially what it does is digest the information so that you can tolerate it. It's very similar to REM sleep, where, you know, you have something and you dream and sort of help process through those experiences. I could also give you another link on that too, in terms of, you know, there's brochures and stuff on how to that, or we can do another thing where I answer some questions.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else the world needs to know about caring for themselves or dealing with all this?
I think just really making your own stress management plan, a self-care plan, really thinking about what are you doing for you? You know, do you have enough rest? Are you eating properly and nutritiously, or else, you know, are we sort of gorging on the wrong snacks because we're bored? You know, our brains and bodies need to be helped with calming. So, you know, really looking at de-stressing activities, you know, not looking at taking big projects on if you don't have to. Getting support, realizing who's in your support network, and reaching out for help. There's, you know, those hotlines that are available. We're available. You know, there's tons and tons and tons of therapists on Long Island who are, you know, ready and able to sort of assist people in any way.
Wonderful. And you and your husband are not only involved in this, but like you volunteer for a million things, right? I mean, can you tell me a little bit about what you guys, some other stuff that you guys do?
So we do this, we do, you know, we're involved in the chamber, we're involved in the Rotary Club. The Rotary Club, or Nassau, they're going to yell at me because I'm going to get this wrong. Central Nassau Rotary Club, I think it's called. You know, and we help loads of organizations with some funding and support for their programs. So yes, we've come from volunteer families. That's just been, you know, the fire departments, the, you know, just anything and everything, the civic associations in town. We do what we can, you know. So my husband does some because he's a World Trade Center survivor and has some health issues related to that. So he does what he can, I do what I can, and, you know, we go from there.
And we appreciate all that you guys do for the community.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. And I'm going to post all the links that can help anybody who needs help. I'm going to add this to the PocketPete app. I'm going to make sure so the video will be there. This video will be around both in the PocketPete TV and my personal page if everybody wants to share it out, or, you know, if you know anybody that needs help. Cathy, is there anything we need to add for people to connect with all the good stuff that you do?
No, just to give a call. Sorry. Just to give a call. You know, give a call. You can reach me at 631-466-7053. Cathy Menzies at Gmail is probably the easiest way to get me, or the phone. And for the Long Island Trauma Recovery Network, we'll post some links for those who are eligible for the free and pro bono services.
Wonderful. Appreciate you. And
all right. You and the family stay well.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Be well.
All right. Bye-bye. Hold on.